Council has approved an ordinance cracking down on apartment complexes with serious health and safety problems. We'll discuss this and more of today's top headlines. I'm Ernie Manouse.
And I'm guest host Brandi Smith. We'll also be joined by Mayor-elect of the city of Pearland, Quentin Wiltz, who will discuss his winning campaign, his priorities, and what residents can expect from him.
Plus, the hosts of the 2026 Tommy Tune Awards will join us to tell us all about this year's event, which honors the very best in high school musical theater.
And as always, we want to hear from you. Give us a call or text us at 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. You can also watch us live on YouTube by going to houstonpublicmedia.org.
And now back to Hello Houston, and today is a special day. It's the one.
Live from NPR News, I'm Lakshmi Singh. It has been nearly a year since Pope Leo XIV became the first American elected to lead the Roman Catholic Church. On the eve of that anniversary, he received U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, who is Catholic. Their meeting comes at a low point in relations between the Vatican and the United States under President Trump. Reporter Megan Williams says Rubio and the Pope discussed efforts to resolve conflicts in the Middle East, among other issues.
Given how short the list is of shared commitments, it's also indicative of the gulf between the Vatican and the White House on so many issues. Now, to be fair to Rubio, he had to walk a tightrope. He had to show respect for the Pope while staying true to the president, who has repeatedly attacked the Pope.
Megan Williams speaking with NPR's Morning Edition. A new poll suggests Americans believe many members of Congress are too old. NPR's Elena Moore reports on the latest findings from NPR, PBS News, and Marist.
The poll looked at support for maximum age limits and term limits for members of Congress, and it found that the vast majority of Americans, 8 in 10, support both. It's also got bipartisan backing. 78% of Democrats and 83% of Republicans like the idea of age caps, and similar amounts support term limits. 18-year-old Michael Hatch of Eudora, Kansas feels that way about leaders in Washington.
They just might be out of touch. You got 70, 80-year-olds in Congress running the country. It's not representing people like me.
But support for age and term limits goes past young folks. The generation with the most support, Gen X, folks in their late 40s to early 60s. Elena Moore, NPR News.
An effort is underway to trace the whereabouts and contacts of several passengers on a luxury cruise liner dealing with a deadly outbreak of hantavirus. The World Health Organization confirms 8 cases have been reported, including 3 deaths and 3 suspected cases evacuated for medical care. As Michael Koloki reports, the WHO says there could be more infections in the pipeline due to the long incubation period of the virus.
The operators of the MV Hondias ship say passengers from at least 12 countries, among them 6 Americans, had previously disembarked on the South Atlantic island of St. Helena. Hantavirus is a rodent-borne virus which can cause fatal respiratory illness. Before departing for the Canary Islands, the ship had been stationed for several days off the coast of Cape Verde, where authorities had refused to grant permission for the ship to dock, citing the move as a precautionary measure. The U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention says it is closely monitoring the situation, adding the risk to the U.S. public is extremely low. For NPR News, I'm Michael Kaloki in Nairobi.
This is NPR News.
Live from News 88.7 in Houston, I'm Tom Perumian. A teenager charged for an alleged plot to attack a Houston-area synagogue is due in court today. Harris County authorities say the 16-year-old had been communicating with an 18-year-old in North Carolina, orchestrating the threat against Temple Beth Israel. The situation forced the synagogue to close its doors early that day and send kids at a daycare or a day school home early. The local 16-year-old has been in custody since their arrest. Multiple law enforcement agencies across Texas and North Carolina are working to stop the threat. A new Harris County report shows that most disaster relief flood bond projects likely won't meet a fast-approaching funding deadline early next year, jeopardizing more than $245 million. The report comes a few weeks after County Judge Lina Hidalgo grilled the flood control director over the status of 28 flood mitigation projects that were delayed after revelations of a multi-million-dollar funding shortfall.
People have been waiting for these projects. We get a report that the projects are behind, and you're not providing anything that provides any sort of assurance to the community, much less to me, that you're on track. What are we playing?
The county will have to complete 11 of those projects before February of next year, but 6 are already behind schedule. In sports, the Astros broadsided in a stunning 12-2 loss to the Dodgers yesterday. LA gets out of town, taking 2 from the Stros. Houston takes the day off before welcoming in the Cincinnati Reds Friday for a weekend series. Checking your weather, mostly cloudy with a high of 78. Tonight's going to be mostly cloudy with a low of 69. Friday, showers and thunderstorms in the forecast, otherwise mostly cloudy, a high of 77. Right now, overcast 66 degrees on the UH campus. Get more news and information. Go to houstonpublicmedia.org. I'm Tom Perumian, News 88.7.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include Progressive Insurance, home of the Name Your Price tool, so drivers can see coverage options at Progressive.com or 1-800-PROGRESSIVE. Price and coverage match limited by state law. And the listeners who support this NPR station.
Yeah, I can't even see anything. I just see the centers. This thing that's center.
Live from Houston Public Media and News 88.7, it's Hello Houston, an open forum on today's biggest stories
I can see the
Houston
thing that
and
says
beyond.
it's actually
Call now,
reversed, but it says stay center screen, but I can't see where I am on the screen.
714-440-8870. Or let us know your thoughts on today's topics by emailing us at talk@hellohouston.org. And now, Hello Houston.
Hello there. You may have heard a little chatter in the background there. I think it's an upcoming guest wasn't muted.
A little tease of what's to come.
A little tease. That's a great way to look at it. Positive. Who is here with me? I'm Ernie Manouse, and
I am Brandi Smith.
You took a pause like you weren't sure who you were. Like,
we had this issue when we were recording promos and stuff. Just getting used to introducing myself on air again it doesn't come naturally, I think.
For folks who hear you say on air again, tell them a little of your pedigree.
I worked at KHU11 for 7 years as a social media anchor and digital anchor, which sounds like the same thing. Very different, it turns out. But for the past about 2.5 years, I've been at Rice University as a multimedia journalist, and I'm also the head of communications for Rice Global, which has campuses in Paris. We have an office in Bangalore, India, and we're also sending students to Venice, Italy this fall.
Wow.
Yeah.
So when you have to go and check out the offices, that's not a problem for you.
It's a really tough gig, you know?
Well, we don't have a really tough gig today because we've got a great show for ourselves today. What did you do last night? Did you go home and get all the accolades from guest hosting yesterday?
I did hear some really nice feedback, mostly from my friends who were forced to watch and listen. But it's great because they were also introduced to Hello Houston, and
right.
I hope we've generated some new listeners, some new viewers.
A little bit of a method to our madness, you know, as we bring in
Yeah.
these wonderful guest hosts. Hopefully we bring some of your fan base with us over here. But
Fingers crossed.
We've enjoyed having you yesterday and today, and I hope you'll come back and join us more days.
Yes, I would love that. It's been a real adventure in the best way.
Well, I have to say I appreciate you more than I already appreciated you, because if you can tell from my voice, I've been battling a little bit of a cold going on here for a few days, and having you here in the office has made things just so much easier. So thank you for that.
You are kind to say that, but I don't think anyone has noticed.
As I sit here with sniffles. Anyway, we've got a great show, as I was mentioning. They just elected a new mayor in Pearland, and he's here with us today.
Yeah, that may have been who you were getting that teaser for a little bit earlier. But another story that I think is going to get a lot of folks talking is this. After years and years of delays and debate, the Houston City Council finally approved new rules cracking down on apartment complexes with serious health and safety problems. If you've lived in Houston long enough, you already know exactly the kinds of stories we're talking about here. Mold, broken AC and brutal heat, structural issues, unsafe conditions. So under this new ordinance, the city's going to create something called a high-risk rental building registry. And City Council member Martha Castix Tatum says it's aimed at repeat offenders not every apartment owner in Houston. Basically, if an apartment complex racks up 10 or more health and safety violations within 6 months, it can end up on this list. And once a property lands there, owners could face daily fines ranging from $500 to $2,000 for unresolved violations. The ordinance also establishes landlord training programs and an interdepartmental committee with tenant and landlord representation to kind of oversee the program. For tenants dealing with dangerous living conditions, city leaders say they hope this finally sends a message that some of these longtime problem properties are going to face real consequences. So we want to know what you think about this city ordinance. Is it too tough? Is it not tough enough to fix the problem? You can call or text 713-440-8870.
I've had mixed reaction to it. First of all, I do want to say, though, nobody should be living in substandard conditions, and it's wrong. We used to have a neighbor back in New York when I was growing up, and the local newspaper referred to him as a slumlord because the buildings that he had up all over town were not at standard, and all they had to do was the public humiliation of the person. And so, yes, nobody should be living in those conditions. What I worry about is what are the alternatives for a lot of these people that find themselves in these conditions, and if, in fact, to fix the problems, they have to raise the rents on the people because all too often it's the consumer of any product that pays, in the end, pays the fine. And so then do we have alternate housing for these folks? I like in the story you were just reading, talking about how there'd be landlord training programs.
Right.
So maybe some of these are things where they don't know how to handle the issues they're faced and overwhelmed. But I remember from interviews we've already done about this topic, it's not necessarily the person that is leasing out 1 or 2 apartments and has a problem. So it's as they say, these repeat offenders who, if they're doing it at this level, there's knowledge of what's happening and they're cutting corners. So I think something needs to be done. I hope that there is, though, also a safety net for those tenants who need to be removed from these situations. Where do they go?
And that can hopefully be part of the next conversation, because you are going to have a lot of people displaced if massive improvements need to be made. And that's what tenants have so often said hindered them speaking up. Right. Continuing to live in these conditions is because they really can't afford to move to a place with higher rent. There are all sorts of limitations.
Yeah.
So.
What do you think about that? Give us a call and share with us. Have you encountered one of these properties? Have you found yourself having to live in a property like that and there was no alternative? It wasn't by choice. It was just what was able to be done by you and your family. Or if you're a landlord who has faced concerns about this, feels that this is either a good move or a bad one, give us a call. We'd love to hear from you now. 713-440-8870. I'm moving on from this story. Please call in and share your thoughts because I am fascinated by this next story. This one is the Hantavirus. We keep hearing about it. Health officials are monitoring this rare virus outbreak aboard a cruise ship traveling across the Atlantic. The World Health Organization says at least 3 people have died and several others have become ill aboard this ship, which remains off the coast of Cape Verde, though I hear it is on the move now. They're moving it. The Hantavirus is usually spread through contact with infected rodents, but officials say this outbreak may involve the rare Andes strain, which they say spreads person to person in limited cases. 3 passengers were evacuated to Europe this week, while health officials stress the overall public risk remains low. And that's where my original story ended when we put it in yesterday. Today I've got some updates. The World Health Organization has confirmed dozens of people, including Americans, left the ship upon which the Hantavirus outbreak happened and has killed several people. A few flew home after the death of the first passenger, but before they knew they'd been exposed to the contagious and deadly disease. It takes me back to whenever you see Outbreak or the end of that first reboot of Planet of the Apes where they do that map where 1 dot then spreads to 2 dots, then spreads out.
The movie Contagion comes
or
to
Contagion,
mind. Yeah.
The director of the World Health Organization says some of the passengers shared an airplane to Johannesburg with a woman from the ship who then later died. So there's questions about there. They also say none of the remaining passengers or crew on board are symptomatic, but that it is possible more cases will be reported because it can be up to 6 weeks before those infected with the Andes variant show symptoms. He insists the public health risk, though, remains low.
I cannot imagine being the folks who are still on this ship, who really have no timeline for when they get to go home at this point, not knowing if they've been exposed. The human part of this is really tough. You think about the victims and their families as well.
I've got an added piece to the story.
Oh, goodness.
Additionally, a Dutch flight attendant who has developed mild symptoms is being tested for the disease after she briefly came into contact with one of the deceased Hantavirus patients.
We're going to keep hearing these stories. The amount of exposure that has happened when folks popped off the ship as they're flying home, not realizing what they may or may not be carrying, it's just going to lead to so many more of these examples.
Yeah, I think the thing to keep in mind, we have that quick reaction after what we went through with COVID and the whole pandemic. So I think we are much more attuned to this. And these kind of mini outbreaks have happened all across the globe and amount to very little. I mean, not to say that the people who lost their lives or got sick is very little, but it's a less contagious disease, virus. And the problem with coronavirus was the airborne nature of it, and it could linger in the air and all that we learned from that. But we are seeing new variants. We're seeing the spread of this one. We're seeing that people that come in contact with it, when it was only usually with contact with rodents. So it's something we've got to closely keep an eye on. It's a time
That's
when
the most
we should
concerning
be
bit.
it. Which part?
The human-to-human transmission
right.
versus the
Right.
animal.
Well, like for the flight attendant who has mild symptoms, I'm not familiar enough at this point to know exactly what those symptoms are, and they could be symptoms of other things, but you've got to be cautious if you come in contact with someone who then later dies of this particular virus, and then you show some symptoms. I mean, of course, I'm a hypochondriac. I'm thinking to myself, I've got a cold. Oh, my God, do I have it? There's no way I have it, but my mind goes there in an instant. There was a story.
Ernie, I got to go.
Yeah, well, there was a story a little earlier on the news today where they were just talking about, this virus going around, and if you dig ditches and come in contact with dirt and dry earth, and I'm like, oh my God, is that what I have? So, I get a bit carried away, and I think we all have that tendency in us to worry. Right now, we shouldn't be worried, but we should pay attention. I think that's the best way to put it. And who knows? Maybe all those face masks we bought before will come in handy again.
Yeah, if you've had that stockpile.
713-440-8870. What are your thoughts? Is this a one-off, or are we cruising toward another epidemic? Get that? Cruising toward? All right. We were talking a moment ago about apartments, and we wanted your thoughts on that. Mary from Montrose gave us a call at 713-440-8870. Mary, what are your thoughts about the apartment story?
Well, I have several miserable experiences in Houston. The most significant is was living in a 12-unit apartment complex. Every single apartment had mold. 8 of us complained vehemently to the landlord and to the management company. What happened to us was retaliation. Our leases were not renewed. I even went to the city health department several times in person. I want to say that the health department did nothing to help us. I think the main thing that the city of Houston is going to face in trying to clamp down on landlords like this is that the state landlord-tenant law is very much in favor of the landlord, and I don't know if city law can circumvent what is imposed by state law.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all I have to say.
I'm curious, and for people to understand, when you in the situation where you're in an apartment, other folks are also in apartments, and they find mold, could you leave? Could you break your lease because of that, or were you still tied to your lease while remediation happened?
We were tied to the lease. There is nothing in the lease. By the way, the lease was the standard TAA lease, the Texas Apartment Association lease, which, of course, is very much on the side of landlords.
Right.
And it does not give you any relief at all. In fact, this has been in the news before. Even in hurricanes, when your apartment is underwater, it's very technical to even get out of a lease under those circumstances.
Yeah. Let me ask one other question, then I'll let you go about your day, which I hope is listening to this show. If you were able to get out of the lease, would you have been in the situation, the condition to be able to go and rent another place, or would you have been sort of tied to the apartment? Or the other folks that you also experience this with, would they have been able to move if they could get out of the lease?
Well, in my case, I would, and I think it's fair to say, I don't know their exact circumstances, but I think most of us would have been able to get out of the lease. Okay. But see, we felt that the landlord not only could, but would sue us for the remainder of the rent on the lease.
Yeah. Sorry you had to go through that, Mary. What are your thoughts? Do you think this is a good move in the right direction for the city to be taking?
Absolutely. I just hope that you can circumvent the state law. I just doubt that you can.
Yeah.
I even, just so you know, I used to do, used to be a legislative liaison, so I even contacted some legislators, and I even contacted State Health and Human Services. I even called the State Health Department about the mold. I mean, all of us, kind of as a group, were very intensive on this for several months, and we got nowhere. So, yeah.
Well, we will continue to follow this story, and I hope you'll continue to listen as we do and share with us, because you give us some good insight into this that I don't think we would have hit on in this particular one. So thank you, Mary, for calling.
Yeah, maybe if nothing else, this will be a warning to landlords that the city of Houston is at least
taking things seriously.
Yeah. And this has been in the works for years. The city has worked with landlords because that's what's taken so long, is landlords have pushed back against this with such strength.
Right.
But having 10 violations in 6 months, I think, is a pretty, you would hope, short list of landlords.
But Mary brings
in the
up
Houston
a great
area.
point. What overrides state law in this case, and these contracts that people sign, these lease agreements, things are going to have to be done. But I'm happy to see that something is happening. Whether this answers all the problems, we don't know. Quickly, before we run out of time, I did earlier, we do a little cut-in at about 10:49 each day saying what's on today's show. And my brain isn't working at full capacity today. And I said, we'll be doing pet peeves today. Well, actually, pet peeves is what they do over on Houston Matters. What we do is current obsessions. And that's what we're going to be doing today. So what are your current obsessions? We ask that you start sharing them with us. We'll share them at the end of the show along with our own. But what are the books, the music, the movies, the streaming shows you are watching that keep you up at night or that keep you turning pages? What are the things that you're just currently obsessed with? It could be anything. Share them with us. Talk at hellohouston.org, or you can call or text us at 713-440-8870. I bring that up because they just announced who's going to be playing at the Freedom Over Texas for the 4th of July celebration. And I know you're a big live music person.
I am, but I'm more interested in folks' current obsessions about shows, because we just finished the season 3 of Shrinking, so we need a new show.
You save those for the end.
No, but I need a new show, so I need some recommendations. Yeah,
they're coming in.
I'm going to be taking notes.
But what do you think about the lineup for the 4th of July celebration? Freedom Over to Keith Urban, Los Lonely Boys, and Collective Soul.
I am a child of I wasn't born in the 90s, but I came of age in the 90s, so Collective Soul speaks to my soul.
Yeah.
I am very excited about that one.
Well, it will be fun to see what everyone's current obsessions currently are coming in. A couple tidbits here that I'm sharing with you. The other one is the Tony Awards were announced on Tuesday morning. My days are getting a little mixed up. And we were really excited to see that Ty Blue, who made Houston home for a very long time, has been nominated for his work on the show Titanic, which he wrote and has produced, and it's on Broadway now, and it's really a great success story. I bring that up because later in the show today, we're going to be talking about the Tommy Tune Awards, which are the local high school feeding ramp into the, why can't I remember the name of the awards in New York? But they are the kids' version of the Tommy Tunes for high school performers. And the Tommy Tunes, the winners there, move on to the Jimmy Awards. That's what they're called, the Jimmy Awards. So that's coming up a little bit.
I was looking through the nominees list.
Yeah.
I had no idea so many high schools were putting on these performances. Now I have like a to-do list for next fall.
We'll talk a lot about the Tommy Tune Awards coming up. We had a quick off-air comment that came in from a caller. I used to live in a property off Willcrest They were just awful. Residents were complaining about mold, and they said that they wouldn't be doing anything to fix it. Trash wasn't being picked up either, and the rent was expensive. A lot going on there. Continue to share your thoughts about this. We know there's a lot of complaints out there about it too, but what do you think about the solution that they're proposing? Let us know, 713-440-8870. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, the city of Pearland has a mayor-elect, and he's going to be here with us to share his views on what's coming up. This is Hello Houston. We'll be right back.
Meet Dio Choco. We just took his keys for the day and gave him a Ride Metro fare card. This is his story. Visit ridemetro.org/Choco to find out where is Choco.
PBS Watcher or both, your ongoing donations of at least $5 per month qualify for PBS Passport. Make your gift now to start watching at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate.
Nobody likes to pay taxes, and both political parties are banking on that.
We're really not talking about either tax simplification or even just raising enough tax revenue because we're running a really big deficit right now.
I'm Kai Risdahl. Tax cuts for all my friends. Next time on Marketplace.
You can listen to Marketplace. That's coming up later today at 6:30.
Houston Matters is your essential daily guide to the people, places, issues, and ideas that define Greater Houston.
Vulnerable households that have less of a means to recover from a flood, have less money to do it, are concentrated in the highest flood risk neighborhoods.
There's never going to be a perfect moment to come out or reveal something about yourself. There's never going to be a perfect moment to call somebody you haven't spoken to in years. Don't wait for all the stars to align.
I'm Craig Cohen. Join us for the next Houston Matters, weekday mornings at 9 here on News 88.7.
Support for Houston Public Media comes from Novotny and Company, offering commercial and residential property tax protests for 39 years. The deadline to file a protest is May 15th. Info and online filing at novotnycompany.com. Support comes from Metro. World Cup planning includes transit improvements intended to serve Houston after the final match. Metro provides bus, rail, and paratransit service and continues mobility enhancements across the region. More at ridemetro.org/Metro Now.
And now back to Hello Houston. To comment on any of today's topics, call or text 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. And now Ernie Manouse and guest host Brandi Smith.
Hey y'all, welcome back. We are joined today by Pearland's mayor-elect Quentin Wiltz. Following a closely watched election, Wiltz comes into office after a narrow victory and is set to lead one of the Houston area's fastest growing communities. Here to talk with us now about his winning campaign, his priorities, and what residents can expect from him, Mayor-elect Wiltz, welcome to Hello Houston.
Hi, Simone. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you for being here. I know we're just a couple of days removed from this election. How are you feeling?
I'm tired.
Yeah. We're not at a point where it's like, be careful what you wish for.
So you sound like my wife. So no, it's all good. It's definitely what I've been asking for. I've been at this a long time. I know sometimes when you come into a position like this, people only see the end of the journey. They don't see the full picture. Mm-hmm. And that's really what the narrative I've been trying to tell the whole time is that we've been representing people for a long time in this community. People have been speaking to try to accomplish things. And we were finally successful. And I just happen to be the face of that. But I'm grateful that people were able to see the message and what we're trying to do in Pearland. And there's a lot of work to do. I'm excited to be here. Like you said earlier, I've been asking for it. So here's my chance to represent the people of this community, people of Pearland, and show this community what we can do if we work together.
In any close election, we know that means the other side had strong support too. How do you step in to govern to bring it all together?
I think you bring up a really good point. There's been what we like to call an establishment here. and the media has picked up on a certain political party, but it really has just been a representation of a way of life that's existed for a very long time. The other candidate is a sixth generation native here. And what I want people to realize is that even though I'm not a native, I've been here for 20 years, raised my family here. And what I represent is a large population of people who have multiple stories across political spectrums, ethnicities, races, religions. And we all have a place in this community. And so the biggest challenge will be to represent everyone. There's a large percentage of people, are smaller now, since we've grown so much, percentage of people that have lived here for a long time. And they're very proud of Pearland and what Pearland used to be. And so, but many people who move here don't really find themselves attached to that. But as a mayor, I represent everyone, our mayor-elect. I represent everyone. And I want people to understand that they all are valued. We all have our different wants and needs, but at the end of the day, we have to align on something that will move us in the right direction and move us forward to a place where we all can live, thrive, and appreciate the quality of life that we all are investing in.
We're speaking with City of Pearland Mayor-elect Quentin Wiltz. If you want to join the conversation, you can call or text 713-440-8870. Mayor-elect, I wanted to ask, you first ran for this position in 2020. What do you think has changed? What was different about this campaign?
So, respectfully, please understand respectfully, I've run before.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That. Oh, no, it's not. No, so the media picked up on 20 because it's the most recent. And that one was very interesting because normally local elections are in May. And that was, I don't know if you remember, that was COVID. And they just canceled the rodeo. A lot of things were happening. And because of the pandemic and the fears, we moved the election to November. So what started as a local election got swept up in the national current of partisan politics. And so no message was really heard other than red or blue. And what happened differently in that election was that there was a severe undervote, a definitely increase. I think it was about 70% turnout. But at the end of the day, when people went into the booth, there was an expectation of partisanship, so Democrat or Republican. And all the local electeds, we had an N by our name. So if people didn't go in realizing who you were or what you were about, they just went in and voted either straight ticket or D or R. And when they got to the locals, we saw almost an 18% drop off in people who were in the polls. Wow. And polling, most of those people we anticipated were voters who were likely to vote for me. And so that was disheartening. But even before then, I ran in 2017 for mayor. And I ran against, at the time, who's now deceased, but a definite icon in Pearland, Mayor Tom Reed. He has a library named after him. So one of the voting locations that you actually walked into had his name on the building. And so that was interesting. But he had a library named after him, a street, and a post office. So definite icon. He was our mayor for, 30 or 40 years, but a great man. Just the city had outgrown what I believed he was capable of doing to bridge the gaps of all the people that had moved here. And he served very well during his tenure. Everyone liked him. So in 2017, when I ran, we went into a runoff. And at that particular time, we broke voting records. We had very large turnout, and it went into a runoff. And then in the runoff, that's where I wasn't able to meet the moment, so to speak. There were some things that I think are being drawn out in this particular election. The fact that my ethnicity is being publicized, my political party is being publicized, all these things have existed for years. And it's just now that people are kind of starting to pay attention. But at the time in 2017, I ran with a young Muslim woman who was running for city council. And all of those things that we see playing out today in politics were very prevalent in that election in 17. And so we went from a 300-point deficit, actually beat the mayor on election day, 49.5% to maybe 42% or something like that. But when it went into the runoff, there were some other factors, congressional, money poured into the race and some other things, and it went from a 300-point swing to a 3,000 point deficit just in a matter of 4 weeks. So
let me jump in here and ask you, what drives you or drove you to keep coming back to this race?
It was just a belief that our community could be better. There were changes happening in our community. I didn't appreciate that people felt excluded. I think in every community we pay our taxes, we live here, we expect a certain quality of life, and everyone should feel included. But to your point, I've even run before that. So this will be the 5th time,
right?
Actually. So twice for council, 3 times for mayor. And, it really was faith. I tell people all the time, the rosary is a very powerful tool. It is direct. So I'm a good Catholic and I pray it. And this time around, I know people, they look at me and they say, oh man, you're young, but my oldest son is a junior at the military academy. And my son, my youngest, graduates in like 30 days. So we were about to be empty nest. And so I really had to pray on this one. But my wife and I, we looked at where we were in our life and thought that 20 years from now, if we look back at the opportunity to change and impact our community, the things that we're trying to do, what will we say to each other? Did we try? Did we attempt it? And so, again, I prayed about it, and here I am.
Well, you say empty nester. Boy, you filled that nest right up getting this position, didn't you? Another question, when you talk about all the different races you have done, was there something unique and different that you noticed this time when you were out talking to voters on the campaign trail? It puts you really in a lot more, when one is campaigning, they seem to be much more in touch with the voters because you're going where they're at, talking to them. Did you find a different feeling in this group this time around, and what was it you noticed?
What I noticed was an attention to the way people were feeling as far as their pocketbook. There are some people in Pearland that they were turning off of national politics.
Here I thought he was getting extremely thoughtful in his answer, but I think he just froze up on us.
It appears so.
Mayor-elect, can you hear us? We'll try and reconnect with him in just a moment. A fascinating guy with a lot of... I think I'll tell you already what I think is interesting that stands out for me in this. Once again, we're hearing the talk of religion. And usually what you would have thought in the past, stereotypically, that was often on the right. More conservative, embrace that. But we're hearing it much more on the Democrat side. Not to say that there is more connection to faith now on the left, but it's being talked about now more, I think.
They're being much more vocal, candidates are, about their faith, because I think they realize that is a big connection point for voters. Mm-hmm. Christian, Catholic, whatever.
Yeah.
There's a large portion of the religious community that I think is feeling distance from candidates on the Republican side.
We're waiting to reconnect with the mayor-elect from Pearland. If you've got questions, comments, if you want to react to what you've already heard, give us a call, 713-440-8870. I was interested in the fact when he mentioned youthfulness, because I look at him and I was like, there's a young guy.
He does look like, looks like he's back.
But I think it's more the case that I've gotten older, and so they just look younger now to me. Mayor, I'm sorry, we lost you in the middle there. We thought you were getting real contemplative about something, and it turned out you had just frozen.
Just frozen. No, but you asked what was different. And what really was different was that in the light of what we see in national politics, where people feel like sides or divided, people disagree, there was something that our local election, this particular election, gave people hope, something that they can believe in, something that could be a part of, that they were longing for, that someone was there talking to them about things that truly matter. How can we be better as a community? In light of everything, we have many different stories. We make up a complexity of people from all over the world, and despite all those things, there are shared stories among us. And where can we align on those shared stories to have a better community and have a better place to live for our kids, for our families. There are issues with quality of water here in Pearland. We did a rechlorinization or some test, and there's some that argue that played a main component, but there are some people that feel like they're paying too much for their water, and the taxes. There are articles that are written that say Pearland has the highest taxes. So what are we getting for that? What value do we have? We know we have great schools, public schools in Pearland. All of those things are wonderful, and but people are asking, outside of party, outside of commitments, what can we expect living in Pearland now and in the future?
I've got another question for you, kind of a little inside baseball-y kind of thing. Have you heard from or reached out to the governor?
No. So it's interesting. I've not spoken with anyone outside of our local electeds. Mm-hmm. I do know that in a more recent race. So the reason that this position sort of opened up is because our current mayor, Mayor Cole, stepped down to run for a judge position, and he ran in the Republican primary against another individual, Gisagi. And he wasn't successful, but I know that the governor stepped into that race and endorsed the other candidate. So as far as any government gubernatorial interference, the last time that Governor Abbott's name was presented in our local elections had to do with the voucher program. One of the state reps was backed by Governor Abbott, and then he endorsed the current nominee for judge in the November election. So other than that, I've not spoken with Governor Abbott. I would love to, because I think all of us, no matter our political parties, are working for the same purpose, for Texans, for Pearlanders, to make everyone's life better. So, but no, I haven't heard from him.
I asked that question because we're watching intently here in the city of Houston the interaction between our mayor and the governor, and how that is working out, especially with the ICE situation, all that. And people, I think, often forget you've got to find consensus. You got to find at least bridges to build so that you get what you need for your city, while also standing up for what you believe in too. It's an interesting dance. So it'll be interesting to watch how you go about it.
Well, no, I think so. I think that, I wasn't really expecting the national headlines. And obviously, it's a nonpartisan position. And there are a lot of people who voted and participated in spite of what it may look like low voter turnout. We all know that across Texas, voter turnout is low, especially in municipal elections. However, if you look at the numbers for our elections, they're blowing them out of the water. I mean, the last election where we saw these numbers was in 2017.
Yeah.
Coincidentally. But they trend 3%, 4%. And if you look at the totals, we're pretty much in line with what we saw in 2017, where I believe almost 11 or 12,000 people. And so at first glance, you may think, oh, wow, that's low. But in relative to what we experienced locally, it's tremendous. In spite of lower voting hours and days, we had 2 fewer days. San Jacinto Day was a holiday. We didn't vote on Sunday, and then council voted to approve where voting hours for early voting was from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. the entire time. And most people knew that that's where 70,000+ people go to work. Right. We drive to or wherever to go to work, and I think perhaps that may have motivated some people. And so that's remains to be seen. But at the end of the day, they showed up. And we had more votes in early voting than we did in the last 3 elections almost combined. So wow. I think it speaks for itself as far as people wanting to participate. And it goes back to what we continue to tell people, that elections are determined by the people who show up. They don't show up on Facebook or Twitter or any other threads. You show up at the ballot box, and that's where it matters, and that's where democracy matters.
Mayor-elect, really quickly, I want to get one last question into you. And you mentioned the national headlines. Even though this is a bipartisan race, this has been heralded as a sign of a blue wave to come, or a really positive sign nationally for Democrats. What is your reaction to that? What is your takeaway?
I think what this signifies, other than a blue wave. Everybody knows about political party. I've lived here for 20 years. And what I will say to that is, it's really about people. It's always been about people. And I think we get swept up in the parties, but parties are a platform for the people who are trying to serve the community. They're a great resource. And, at the end of the day, parties will back their particular people, but at the very bottom of it, the heart of everything, it's truly about connecting with the people you're going to serve. And that's what I expect. I don't know how this is going to play out long term, but I do know that I'm committed to serving this community, not as a Democrat, but as a resident of Pearland, as the mayor-elect of Pearland, and at some point, the mayor of Pearland, when I'm sworn in on Monday. I'm going to serve every person in this community.
Well, I hope you'll come back and visit us and share with us what you're doing throughout your term, and an honor to have you be with us today. Thank you.
The honor is mine. Thank you all so much for having me.
City of Pearland Mayor-elect Quentin Wiltz, who we thank him for joining us. Coming up, it's the Tommy Tune Awards, highlighting local talent. Stay with us as Hello Houston continues.
Meet Damola, songwriter, world-class violinist, and award-winning multi-genre artist. We just took his keys for the day and gave him a Ride Metro fare card. Visit ridemetro.org/Damola to learn more about his ride.
Madame, look at these poor babies' arms. You've exposed them to the wind.
Raising your family overseas. It's on the next travel with Rick Steves.
You can hear that Saturday morning at 6 a.m.
I'm Jesse Thorne. This week on Bullseye, Saturday Night Live's Kenan Thompson. Ask him whatever you want. Just don't ask him to hang out late at the after party.
They're just like, oh, don't you want to come to this next kind of thing? And then, oh, that's right, you can't. All right, well, we'll see you later, man.
We'll get Kenan and you home in time for bed. That's on the next Bullseye from MaximumFun.org and NPR.
You can listen to Bullseye coming up tonight at 10 o'clock.
Support comes from Elmore, communicating with clarity and inspiration, collaborating with executive leadership to create expert internal and external communications strategy. Elmore, listen, clarify, communicate. More at elmorepr.com.
Houston Public Media is licensed to the University of Houston System, governed by the UH Board of Regents. Information about open meetings, dates, times, and locations is online at uhsystem.edu.
Support for Houston Public Media comes from listeners like you and from Houston Parks Board, connecting Houstonians through 160 miles of Bayou Greenway hike and bike trails across our great city. Learn more at HoustonParksBoard.org. Support for Houston Public Media comes from listeners like you and from CertaPro Painters, offering residential and commercial painting services, from color consultations to full project management. Estimates and more at CertaPro.com.
And now back to Hello Houston. To comment on any of today's topics, call or text 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. And now Ernie Manouse and guest host Brandi Smith.
With the Tony Awards having just released their nominations on Tuesday for this year's ceremony, it's now time we turn our attention to high school musical theater's own Tony Awards, the Tommy Tune Awards. Presented by Theater Under the Stars, this annual Houston Awards ceremony honors the very best in high school musical theater, recognizing excellence across the board, while also featuring several show-stopping performances from the ceremony's immensely talented nominees. This year's event will be held, I can't believe it, tomorrow night already at the Hobby Center, and we're pleased to welcome its co-hosts who are going to tell us more. Houston actor and singer, or favorites of Houston should be a better way to put it.
Thank you.
Simone Jasmine Gundy and Mark Ivy, welcome both of you back to the show, and good to see you.
Good to see you both.
Yes, always.
It's fun to have you here. I do have to say, with the Tony Awards just being nominated, and probably we all know Ty Blue.
I know.
Ours, and now he's everyone's. He got the Olivier last year in the UK, or 2 years ago, whenever that was.
Another one.
We're pulling for him.
Of the bunch.
You're pulling for
of
him?
the bunch that came out of Tets.
I just saw it 2 weeks ago, so I'm freshly.
Oh, you've seen it?
Yeah.
Oh, you saw it?
Freshly Titaniqued, and I am really hoping that he takes the the crown.
I think it's a hard category.
Sure.
Hard, but we're happy for him. So
Yes,
Ty, come
of
join
course.
us on the show and
Come
talk
on,
about how
Ty.
happy you
Yes,
are.
come on,
But
Ty.
enough about him. Let's talk about you.
Exactly.
My favorite subject.
Okay, so how do you feel hosting the Tommy Tunes?
Oh,
We are very excited. You know, we hosted together in 2019.
Yes.
And we were supposed to host together in 2020, but
What happened?
something happened. I think I lost my keys to my
hiccup?
car. I couldn't
something, and I was late, and I just couldn't get in. Didn't have the badge. It's
Well,
small
let's hope
things.
that ship over there that's got the people
Exactly.
getting sick now doesn't come to
Lord
Houston
Jesus.
for tomorrow night.
We hope that we're not a marker for plagues,
Please,
but we have a great time whenever we are together.
Oh, always. Mark and I hosting is it's a show in and of itself.
Oh,
you know.
definitely. So, Brandi doesn't know about the Tommy Tune Awards.
Yeah, treat me like someone who might be in the audience who has never heard of them before. I was just scrolling through all of the programs, all of the nominees, all the finalists. Holy cow.
Yeah.
I didn't even realize that there was this scale
Oh my
of
God, it's
production
amazing.
happening
Huge
across
Oh,
campuses.
So think about how big Houston is, all of its glory. About 73 high schools probably submit to be
part of the
Evaluated
part of
judge.
the nominated judge, and we pick, or we don't pick, but like there's adjudicators who pick the best of the best, and
And they go out and they see the shows.
They go out to
yes,
see the
they
shows.
do see the shows.
year,
I mean,
they're
the
looking
process
and
is
searching.
very,
Yeah.
very legitimate. It's very, which is my favorite part because I feel like it immerses the children mentally into that culture of being adjudicated, being watched, understanding that this is all part of the, part of a grand scheme of things. Like you're trying to, you're trying to participate in the art, but ultimately, these are the things that are at stake: awards, these types of accolades. So I think it really helps mentally immerse them in that culture.
As you continue doing it, I just want to remind everyone, if you want to call in and join the conversation, are you a past nominee or winner? What did it mean for you? Have you seen these? It's amazing. 713-440-8870. Or if you have questions for our hosts that are sitting here.
Or if you just want to say hi.
Yeah, and at its core, it's really celebrating Houston's theater scene.
Absolutely.
And these are the new artists in the making that come and then have blossoming careers, hopefully.
Yeah.
And also for people to know, the winners, I stumbled this earlier in the show, but I've got a cold. I'm blaming everything on that today. They go on to New York for the Jimmy Awards.
Oh, yeah.
So this is a big deal.
Yeah,
And historically, in the last couple of years, a lot of the Jimmy Award winners, which is kind of like Tommy Tune Plus.
Like Renee Rapp.
Exactly,
the next
Renee Rapp.
have gone on. Yeah.
Jasmine from oh my gosh, she's
the Betty Boop, right?
yeah,
Yes, she was on
Jasmine
the show
Arnold.
last
Yes.
Yeah.
She's fantastic, and in Spelling Bee, she's incredible. She's a Houston girl.
Yep. Yeah, it's great to see that. And we do have an amazing pool of talent here. And I'll tell you,
for sure.
Okay, here I'm going to gripe a little bit. Yeah, I've presented pretty much every one.
Have you?
Yeah, I'm not presenting this year. I don't know where that email got lost in the mail. But anyway.
They heard you fell down with this sickness.
They knew I had
Yeah,
the
that's what it was.
sickness
That's
that
what it
I
was.
have.
It's protecting you.
But what I have to say is what has impressed me, though, the first few times I saw it, I was caught so off guard by the level of production and talent.
Yeah.
It's not like crepe paper costumes and 6 kids threw on a show.
This is not arts and
These are
crafts.
major
Yes,
productions.
they are. Yes.
Full on, like it's like you're at the Tonys or the Oscars. It
and
is,
major
like, full on.
talent to see a budding talent like that in that part of the process is always amazing. I mean, Mark and I were sitting back in the rehearsal the other day, like, oh, okay, like
watching
it's
for our
amazing.
jobs.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I felt like I need to
Tripping
go home and
really
warm
good-
up.
Yeah, I don't know
Tripping
if,
the really good ones as they walk by. It's
You
like,
know?
wait a minute.
my pearl slipped. I don't know if
Just don't mess up.
I don't know if you remember this, but the energy that I felt from the very first time that we hosted together, in all my years of performing, I've never felt anything like it.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yes.
That's so. I wanted to ask. It is like the Tonys in that you have some of the finalists performing.
Oh my
in the
God,
program.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we had the leading actors category, all kids from 2 different segments of that.
Correct.
They get to do a little bit of their
production.
character.
There's medleys. They get to, they get to do a bunch of things.
Yeah, each school who's nominated for Best Musical, they also get to perform a number from their show.
Right.
So it's really cool in how they weave
Well,
in
that's
and
the
out.
beauty
It's
of
awesome.
it, is that it gives you an entire evening of performances.
Absolutely.
In addition to giving these
Absolutely.
awards. And let me tell you, like you were just saying, being on that stage and announcing a winner and hearing the pandemonium in the hall, the excitement, the hoots, Brandi, there are rock concerts you'll go to that are quieter than these kids excited and embracing the arts and their fellow students.
I've never felt more like Beyonce than when I'm hosting this.
Listen, I just need a fan.
Exactly.
That's really all I need.
I don't even need the fan. I'll take the.
You just need your bone dress and you're ready to go.
For this one.
I'll take the sweat in the ear. That's fine.
We do have a comment from one of our YouTubers who says, the Tommy Tunes are awesome. I had the opportunity to perform at the Tommy Tunes with my school multiple times, and it was a blast. That's from Braden Arnold.
Oh, hi, Braden. Yes, he's not lying. It is awesome. It is very cool. It's even more awesome to, I'm not going to say even more awesome because I'm sure the kids are reeling, but I think to be able to host and kind of have this bird's eye view of it is very, very cool. And you don't realize until you get a little, I'm not old, but you don't realize until you get a little older how satisfying it is to see a younger generation do something. Like that becomes a thing. You're like, oh, you just feel like you're on a rocking chair, like, oh, look at them enjoying it, feeling that same feeling that we felt. And then as a host, we get a totally different type of joy. So,
well, remembering back when it first began and talking with the original organizers and planners of it, what I think it was even Frank Young was saying, the problem is that in all these high schools across this city, across this state, across this country, boy, oh boy, they've got trophies for anything you do in sports in the cabinets. And you've got these thriving arts organizations that don't have that. And for them now to have an award they can bring back and put in their trophy case and say, listen, there's not just sports, there's the arts too. And there's talent there, and there is work there, and there's just an amazing future for the people that do that. It's a beautiful thing, and that's what it's become.
Yeah.
I was nominated, not to talk about myself again, but if I may, I was nominated for the very first Tommy Tune Awards way back in 2002.
I remember that, I think.
When you were an infant.
Yes. Merely just a child. But, and then.
Playing baby and bassinet.
From that, that's where I got interested to go to Humphrey School of Musical Theater, which is Tutz's training program. And now I'm doing maybe upwards to my 20th show at Tutz. So it's like, it is kind of like full circle to was these kids.
And not just the Tutz. You're working all over.
Oh, yes, please. Don't let him.
You guys have fabulous
don't let him
careers.
Be modest.
How much time do we have?
Be modest.
Yeah,
try and
to
hold
list
it
the
back.
resume. I mean,
I couldn't fit it through the door. But it does feel a little bit full circle, just like what Simone was saying, is like to watch these young students come through and see the light in their eyes and the excitement that they have. It's
Can
awesome.
either of you recognize the talent that will go on and the talent that won't when you look at these kids?
Well,
of course. And if you can, what is it you see?
It's that spark.
It's a spark that happens when they perform. It is because sometimes you have a tendency to see acting within acting, and it's a person acting like what they think a person that's doing what they're doing should act, instead of an actual joy in telling the story and emoting and communicating with people. And that's what you can see. And you can also see the kids that, whether they're in the front or the back, they're performing like all of Houston is watching them. And even if they don't have a solo or a featured part, I can see those too. I make it a point to actually look at those, because it's amazing to see
I've
that.
got to stop you both there because we're just about out of time.
Yes.
Are there still tickets available if people want to go and see, or are we all sold out?
Absolutely, Tutz.org.
Yes.
Great, okay.
See us.
And I will tell them, we did get a quick question that said, where did the Tommy Tunes get their name? I guess from Tommy Tune.
Houston's own Tommy Tune.
If you don't know what he looks like, please go to the lobby of the Hobby Center. And
And he's 400 feet tall.
Amazing guy. Just look up.
Simone, Mark, thank you very much. We look forward to you folks co-hosting tomorrow's 2026 Tommy Tune Awards. The ceremony will be at the Hobby Center Friday, May 8th. That's tomorrow, 7 p.m. For more information. Oh, it's your birthday?
Yes.
Happy birthday.
What
a great present you got. Visit Tutz.org for more information. Coming up, more of today's top headlines, and we're going to find out what renewable energy means for Texas. Stay with us.
Stay tuned. There's more Hello Houston on the way. For the latest in local news, subscribe to the Hello Houston daily newsletter at HoustonPublicMedia.org. Hello Houston is a production of Houston Public Media. The opinions expressed by the guests of this program are solely their own and do not represent the views of management, staff, or underwriters of Houston Public Media. This is News 88.7.
Support comes from Metro. World Cup planning includes transit improvements intended to serve Houston after the final match. Metro provides bus, rail, and paratransit service and continues mobility enhancements across the region. More at ridemetro.org/Metro Now.
Today, mostly cloudy. We'll get up to about 77. Mostly cloudy tonight, low 69. It's 68. This is your NPR station, KUHF Houston. News 88.7, a service of the University of Houston.
Just ahead on this hour of Hello Houston, Republicans are moving forward with a plan to fund ICE and Border Patrol for the rest of President Trump's term following last week's vote to end the DHS shutdown. We'll discuss this and more of today's top headlines. I'm Ernie Manouse.
And I'm guest host Brandi Smith. We'll also discuss what renewable energy means for Texans with Andy Uhler, a UT Energy reporter and host of the podcast Phases and Stages, the Texas Energy Story.
Plus, it's Thursday, which means it's time for us to share our latest current obsessions, and we want to share yours too.
That's right. Give us a call or text us with your comments, questions, or current obsessions at 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. You can also watch us live on YouTube by going to houstonpublicmedia.org.
Hello Houston is made possible in part by founding sponsors John Bradshaw and Kathy Sanders, by Metro, and by gifts from listeners like you.
Live from NPR News, I'm Lakshmi Singh. The Trump administration is waiting to hear if Iran accepts its conditions for ending the war that the U.S. and Israel initiated more than 2 months ago. President Trump has demanded that a deal must include Iran's agreement to halt uranium enrichment and fully reopen the Strait of Hormuz, where hundreds of ships and thousands of mariners from around the world are stranded. Shipping data firm Lloyd's List Intelligence said today that Iran has created an agency to approve transit and collect tolls from shipping in the key global trade route. World oil prices are now hovering around $100 a barrel, down slightly. U.S. gas prices still surging due to a combination of factors, the war as well as seasonal demand. We're just a few weeks out from the start of summer driving season. National average we see is now around $4.56. Even if the U.S. and Iran agree to end the war, economists warn it could take some time for the price of gasoline and other goods to come down. Here's NPR's Windsor Johnston.
As energy costs rise, so do the prices of many products people use every day. Supply chain expert Jason Miller says items made with plastic, chemicals, or industrial materials are especially vulnerable.
Think about a can of WD-40. Your paints, any type of chemicals, soaps, and things of that sort will be more expensive now. Any type of plastic product. So if you look around your house, you may have some plastic storage, things of that sort.
Miller says the impact is showing up far beyond fuel prices because many global household goods depend on petroleum-based materials and global shipping networks that remain under strain. Windsor Johnston, NPR News, Washington.
NPR has learned that campaign staffers have bet on their own candidates and made thousands of dollars on prediction markets. In this exclusive report, NPR's Luke Garrett tells us these staffers use inside campaign information to bet with an edge and win big.
Two campaign staffers granted anonymity for fear of retribution said the method is simple. Campaign staffers would get an unreleased poll, use it to buy advantageous event contracts, and then sell their contracts once the poll was released and their contract price soared. One staffer admitted to doing this themselves. They won thousands, and their bet was verified by prediction market data reviewed by NPR. Current law bars prediction market bettors from using insider information to make money. But former commissioner at the Commodities Future Trading Commission, Kristen Johnson, doubted that the agency could police, quote, election positions. These bets raise serious questions about how campaign operatives can turn private information into a quick payday amid an unsettled legal landscape for prediction markets. Luke Garrett, NPR News, Washington.
From Washington, this is NPR News.
Live from News 88.7 in Houston, I'm Tom Perumian. The U.S. Environmental Protection Agency has ordered cleanup to begin on the San Jacinto River waste pits. The order comes after years of delays. Carolyn Stone, president of the Channelview Health and Improvement Coalition, praised the order at a press conference Wednesday.
For approximately 9 years since we were promised 100% removal of the toxic materials dumped into the San Jacinto River waste pits, the surrounding community members have waited and continue to fight for the toxic materials to be remediated.
The companies responsible for the cleanup said in a statement that they continue to cooperate with the EPA. A nationwide festival touting itself as a cultural journey through Asia is coming to our city. Panda Fest makes its debut here this weekend at the Waterworks and Buffalo Bayou Park. Lucy Zhang is a member of the Panda Fest team.
You will see Beijing opera. That is the first time I'm going to ever sing in the United States. And then we have the Kung Fu. We have the K-pop. We have the traditional dance. Everything will be up there.
And there will be 60 food vendors at the event, which is, of course, panda-themed. Rice University's Kinder Institute says more than 650,000 Asian Houstonians live here, and that represents 9% of the region's population. In sports, the Astros broadsided yesterday in a stunning 12-2 loss to the Dodgers. Houston takes the day off to lick their wounds before welcoming in the Cincinnati Reds Friday for a weekend series. Checking weather, mostly cloudy today with a high of 78. Tonight, mostly cloudy again, a low of 69. On Friday, showers and thunderstorms in the forecast, otherwise mostly cloudy with a high of 77. Right now, overcast 68 degrees on the UH campus. I'm Tom Perumian, News 88.7.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include EBSCO, committed to providing perpetual access to print and digital books for libraries and the communities they serve. Learn more at ebsco.com. And the listeners who support this NPR station.
Live from Houston Public Media and News 88.7, it's Hello Houston, an open forum on today's biggest stories affecting Houston and beyond. Call now, 713-440-8870. Or let us know your thoughts on today's topics by emailing us at talk@hellohouston.org. And now, Hello Houston with Ernie Manouse.
And also,
guest host Brandi Smith in for a second day.
Enjoying the time with us. Boy, oh boy, the first hour went by very fast.
It did. We had great guests, lots of great energy.
I'm looking forward to seeing what's going to happen over in Pearland now. They've got a very, it seems, energetic and ready to take on the issues for the city new mayor-elect. And then the Tommy Tune Awards, just, you know.
I can't even express how much that opened my eyes. I want to go support local arts, and I've done it at, you know, the professional level, tried to get out to as many different organizations, but to see what's happening at the high school level is incredible.
To tell you, I have been floored year after year of seeing the talent that's in our high schools, and I think as you get older, I think you tend to forget the level of talent people are at certain earlier ages than you think, and you think, well, you need to be at the Broadway age, an adult to really give a performance. Where when a younger person goes at it, they have less things restricting them, I think, and they're freer in their performance to some degree. And so to watch that talent evolve on that stage, as both Simone and Mark were saying, the two that are hosting it, it's so cool to see their careers, where they go from there. And that we had a Tommy Tune Award winner who went on to the Jimmy Awards, who went on to star in Betty Boop on Broadway and got Tony nominated. So, I mean, there is a path forward in this. And if you love the arts, get involved and support your local arts programs in the schools. Go to the shows and support those. You never know what you're going to encounter.
I'm going to do a little plug right now for the Shepherd School of Music and
Please
its
do.
opera program.
Yeah.
Its orchestral program is amazing as well. I had never gone to opera, even at the professional level. So the first time I went was a Shepherd School Opera Studies production. And the voices that you're hearing, the students that you're seeing on stage really are the students who are going on to be the stars.
Yeah, absolutely. So share with us, have you seen somebody perform maybe in something local, something regional, and years later you saw their star explode onto the main scene, that you got to catch someone early in their career and see something that was really unique? Or have you been to the Tommy Tunes? Give us a call. We'd love to hear. 713-440-8870. We have a lot more on today's show. We are going to be learning about renewable energy and what it means for Texans. That's coming up in just a little bit. But as always, we begin with the news. Brandi, take us in.
All right, Ernie, congressional Republicans are pushing a $70 billion party line plan to fund immigrations and customs enforcement and customs and border protection. This comes after last week's bipartisan vote to end the longest government shutdown in U.S. history, which funded the Department of Homeland Security, but largely omitted funding for immigration enforcement. Democrats refused to back a plan without reforms after federal agents killed 2 Americans earlier this year. Now back to this $70 billion plan. It also includes $1 billion with a B dollars for Secret Service for security infrastructure related to President Trump's White House ballroom project. The bill's text explicitly says the funds cannot be used for any non-security elements of the project, which the administration says is being funded fully through private donations. Democrats have clapped back, saying ballroom security funding is an example of frivolous spending by the Trump administration as the U.S. war on Iran continues to drive up the cost of living. So we want to know what you think. Is $1 billion needed for a secure ballroom, or do you agree that this is frivolous spending, as the Democrats say? You can call 713-440-8870.
I'm going to throw this out into the mix just for food for thought on all of this. You are designing a ballroom for the White House that is going to have outside individuals come into this extremely secure place. You do give tours there, but, you know, for the most part, it's very secured. Now we have this incident that happened a week ago where somebody is looking to cause harm to the president, it seems. And so you're going to add $1 billion for security. In the initial plans of building a ballroom on White House property, wouldn't you have already had security protocols in place there at the White House itself? I can see if you were converting an old warehouse in downtown Houston where the president was suddenly going to be living and you needed to put in these precautions. This isn't that. They had a design of something they thought theoretically was going to exist. And even the president said it at moments, and there's a lot of secure stuff underneath that ballroom that's being put in. Now they need $1 billion more. That's where I think we are baited and switched all the time with these kind of funding projects. That would have already been in the initial amount. So either we were lied to about the initial amount, there was a plan at some point that this money was going to be gotten from taxpayer money so that they could actually fund it. I just think this doesn't pass the smell test. Not that I'm saying the president shouldn't be in a secure place. I am not saying that at all, and I think there should be security. But something doesn't add up.
And in the moments after the shooting, when the president made his address, he even hyped up the security of this ballroom before there was an ask for additional security. So I think that
there's just something that doesn't fit right. And also, if I would like to see all the budgets on this, I would like to see what they're paying for. Now, they'll probably argue that it's security and that it's national security and you can't let people know how you're fortifying something like that. But if $300 million, $400 million have already been raised for this ballroom, where does that money go if they get this $1 billion? Does that money then, because we have no way of tracking where any of the money is going that's coming, unless I don't know something, and which is very possible. If you have a better understanding of how this is budgeted out and you want to share that with us, give us a call, 713-440-8870. But I just don't get it.
It's a tough sell right now based on the economy and how much Americans are shelling out for everything else. To know that $1 billion is going to something that should have already had a security plan in place, right, I think is... There are more Americans than just you who are going to be asking that question.
And I'm not even bringing in, should the money be better spent better spent somewhere else. I'm not even at that level of it yet. I'm just at the point Donald Trump promotes himself as a great builder. He would know how to budget building a building that needs what it needs to be secure and functioning and all that. How are we constantly having overrides? How are we this and that? And then how do we get to $1 billion? And then you go back to his plane that he got. And that plane was going to need $1 billion of work done on it to be suitable to be used for the president that he would use until he left term. And then he was going to take the plane with him to his library. I don't understand how bookkeeping is going on at this level.
The fiscal conservatives are, I think, up in arms about this one for sure.
Yeah. Anyway, 713-440-8870. Share with us what you think. You can tell I'm getting a little hot under the collar on that one. And it has nothing to do really with politics or partisan politics.
But it's where our money is being spent.
Understanding where is the money. Mm-hmm. I want to see a spreadsheet, and I said this once at an event that I was at, and we were talking about elected officials coming on programs that we produce. And I said, I understand when an elected official can't come on the program because there's a conflict in their schedule. But outside of that, I don't think they have a right to refuse an invitation to come because we are the people that elect them and they work for us. If my boss calls me into his office for a meeting, I don't have the freedom to say, I don't want to go. I can say, I've got a conflict. There's something else I have to do. Can we reschedule for another time? But they are beholden to the people. And they need to be beholden to the people, or we run into the problems we're seeing now.
I think there's really been a change in attitude about that, just, I would say, over the past 15 years. As someone who spent many years chasing down politicians, chasing down people in power, trying to hold them to account, that was something that was celebrated for so long. And now journalists who are asking those same questions, maybe of different leaders, are accused of being rude, not respecting the office. But the thing is, that is an office, as you said, that the people have elected them to. Mm-hmm. And in accepting that role, in running for that position, an understanding is that you have to answer for the decisions that you make.
Yeah. We had a comment come in online. I fear the money is going to be reappropriated after it's been allocated if it goes through. There's always that possibility, and we've seen that happen time and time again. Anyway, that's what we're going to say about that one. Let's move on to something that actually is... before we move on, let's grab a phone call. 713-440-8870. It's Barry from Channelview. Barry, talk to me. What's on your mind?
I was thinking that since Trump is so unpopular, and because of the way he treats the American people, I believe that he's building the secure ballroom in case he declares martial law and suspends the elections, and he has somewhere to hide out.
He can move his government into the ballroom and run the country from there?
Well, if we're in full revolt and people are the wolves are at the gate, as they say, yes.
You know what I take away from your phone call on top of just what you're saying is that there is room for these kind of thoughts today in our government. That we can have these kind of thoughts and worry about these kind of things, which growing up, I don't think we ever worried that the elected officials would decide to call martial law and not leave office, or would build a fortified space where they could be preserved.
Perhaps not to that degree, but I think there have always been questions and concerns about leaders. And you had legacy media, a varied ownership, that was able to ask these questions without fear of retribution. And now I think as the ownership of newspaper, of radio, of TV has been consolidated over the years, you have very few people kind of pulling the strings and legacy media shrinking considerably. The pool of folks who are brave enough to ask those questions has shrunk considerably.
Thank you, Barry, for sharing with us. Chef Rob contributes over in our YouTube chat. There's bunkers better for that. So better than that for the ballroom. Oaths hold no weight now. Whenever I took a government job and swore on the Bible, I took it serious. Elected officials should do the same. And that's from Resonate sharing with us there. Okay, we're going to... Oh, wait, another call. I keep wanting to move on to another story, and people keep calling. 713-440-8870. Michael from Westgate. Michael, what's on your mind?
Well, look, one of the reasons we end up in such trouble, and this started with the big inflation beginning in the 60s, is we go to war and don't pay for it. There was no tax raise when we had the Vietnam War, again, the Gulf War, both of them, and now this. I mean, they keep saying that this is costing $500 billion, whatever, whatever. But the point is that, and we can add your ballroom this way, is that all these things are in the name of national security, and everybody gets scared, and the commies or whoever it is, the terrorists or whatever, at the door. So we have to spend this money, but of course we don't want to tax anybody, and so we're essentially just accumulating, an awesome amount of debt. And someday we're going to have to pay the piper, or the chicken's going to come to roost, or whatever is going to come to roost. And we can't continue on this way. And people have to understand, if you want something, and this goes for Houston locally too, if you want something from the government, you have to pay it. And the way we pay it is by taxes. Mm-hmm. And as a Supreme Court justice once said, taxes are the price we pay for civilization. And I'll leave you at that.
Michael, thank you very much for sharing that with us. I will, of course, say what I always say when we have these conversations: be registered to vote, and then use your voice when you have the opportunity. There's currently a vote going on for District C special election right here for Houston City Council. Everyone that can should be voting in that. Let's continue on to the phone. 713-440-8870. Carrie from Richmond. What's on your mind, Carrie? Carrie, you with me?
The corruption. Yes. Hello.
Hello. Start again. I'm sorry. We got you clipped at the beginning.
Oh, okay.
So yeah.
The corruption in Washington is off the charts. I cannot believe the theft of taxpayer money. We've got a criminal in the White House. We've got criminals helping him. All the politicians aren't getting him out because they're benefiting from the corruption. It's just unbelievable.
Carrie, I think you express what a lot of people feel today. Thank you for calling and sharing that with us. Resonate writes on the YouTube group, I have a friend in Bangladesh. He told me when they were upset with their government, they overthrew the country. They now have a work in government. So I think a working government was what they wanted to say. 713-440-8870. Let's go to Sam from Highway 6. Sam, what's on your mind?
Are we or should we be surprised by this gesture of saying one thing a couple months back, oh, 200 million, now it's 400 million. Oh, nobody's paying for it. My friends are paying for it. And then come back to the same taxpayers and say, wait a minute, y'all need to pay $1 billion now because it needs to be secured. Well, seriously, because ever since Mr. Trump has been in power, he just comes up with all kind of these tabs that he sticks onto the taxpayers. So might as well just lay low and enjoy until the ride is over, or if it is over.
Sam, thank you for calling and sharing that with us. If you agree with Sam, or if you come from the opposite point of view, if you're watching this and you're like, you know what, this ballroom is something that was needed. This president needs security, as we've seen, because of the numbers of attempts on his life, and that in today's day and age, all presidents may be facing these kind of things moving forward, and you support this, give us a call. I'd love to hear from you too. 713-440-8870. We have a poll up on our YouTube right now if you would like to vote in it. Do you think $1 billion for security upgrades is justified? We'll be giving you the answer a little bit later in the show, what you all decide on that one. So go to our YouTube channel, look for Hello Houston, or just get to us by going to HoustonPublicMedia.org, and you can click there and then vote in the poll. Coming up on the show, Brandi and I are with you for the rest of the hour, and we are going to be talking about what renewable energy means for Texas. So stay with us. You're listening to Hello Houston on News 88.7.
We know you value Houston Public Media. That's why you're watching right now. So take the next step and become a new member of the station you rely on. Every gift makes a difference. And what matters most right now is supporting the station that brings you the news and information you rely on. It only takes a minute to make a big difference. So join as a new member today at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate or call 800-364-8300.
You can hear that later today, starting at 3 o'clock.
Even before Spirit went under, we were already starting to see a retreat from that business model that was just sharply focused on low costs and low fares. And so there's this sense that, maybe the industry is headed in a direction where it's not as focused on serving everybody.
I'm Rachel Abrams. That's Today on the Daily from the New York Times.
You can hear The Daily tonight at 7 o'clock.
Support comes from Elmore, communicating with clarity and inspiration, collaborating with executive leadership to create expert internal and external communications strategy. Elmore, listen, clarify, communicate. More at elmorepr.com. Support for Houston Public Media comes from listeners like you and from St. Arnold Brewing Company, a place for corporate events on tap, meeting rooms, AV equipment, and full catering available. More at starnold.com.
Houston Public Media is a service of the University of Houston and is supported with your gifts to the Houston Public Media Foundation. More information available online at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate.
And now back to Hello Houston. To comment on any of today's topics, call or text 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. And now Ernie Manouse and guest host Brandi Smith.
Welcome back. We are talking about Texas's changing energy economy through the podcast Phases and Stages, the Texas Energy Story. So this series is hosted by Andy Uhler of the University of Texas at Austin and explores how communities across the state are navigating the shift from oil and gas to renewable energy and emerging technologies. And while the podcast travels all over Texas, it started in a place that probably makes a lot of sense to us. Houston, long known as the energy capital of the world. And Andy is joining us here at Hello Houston. Now, Andy, that first episode came back in 2024. You talked about Houston really trying to position itself as the energy transition capital of the world. Given the current political climate and the federal government's approach to renewable energy, does that vision, almost 2 years on, still feel realistic to you?
Yeah, it feels realistic in the sense that I think, and I say this all the time, I was a reporter at Marketplace for a long time doing these energy economic stories. And it still makes sense because the markets are basically dictating that it's so. The people are going to make money in the renewable energy industry just like they're going to make money in the oil and gas industry. And so even, and I say this all the time in the podcast, even if you're putting sort of hurdles in place at the state legislature, at the federal level, if there's money to be made in the energy industry, folks in Texas are going to figure out a way to do it.
Talking to the Greater Houston Partnership, that was a big chunk of that first episode. There was a little bit of hesitation, of optimism mixed with pessimism about kind of getting that pipeline going. Are you seeing, I'm coming from Rice University, higher ed step up to fill that void?
Yeah, it's interesting. Sort of the higher ed, the national labs, and sort of the Department of Energy as well, figuring out a way to sort of bridge that gap. You're right. When industry feels like these things are risky, the role of the government, whether it's state government or federal government, is to basically de-risk that. And I think right now you're hearing those conversations about, okay, we need more industry here. We need more technology here. Who's going to help us de-risk it? Industry's not going, if there's not a revenue to be made, they're not going to sort of set themselves up for that risk. And so the government is going to have to step in. It seems like right now the federal government is less anxious to do that, is a little more apprehensive. They talked about cutting, and they did. They cut 3,000 jobs from the Department of Energy just last year. Mm-hmm. Now they're talking about building it back up. And so the idea that industry is just going to sort of take over and fill those gaps in the market, I think they're understanding that that's not a reality, and the government actually does have a role in de-risking for industry. And so I think right now, funny enough, in the last year, I feel like last year I was more pessimistic, and now I think there's a realization that there is probably a role in some form or fashion for the government to sort of de-risk for industry.
Have we lost that, I don't know, mindset, school of thought that was going for a brief time there, where industries and corporations are trying to be good corporate citizens, that as much as it was important with the bottom line, they also wanted to have a reputation they could hang a hat on and say, look at what we do. Has that kind of wandered away? Are they not concerned with that kind of image?
Yeah, I think that's a good point, Ernie. I think the sort of idea that you had to put together a sustainability, platform, that you had to figure out a way to tell people you were doing things the right way, and that you were thinking about your energy use, your water use, things like that. I think because of the rhetoric coming out of Washington, I think even in Austin, the rhetoric that we're hearing about, renewables not being reliable, things like that, I think businesses sort of take cue from all of those statements. And they say, you know what, it's going to cost us a whole lot of money to, even if it's just PR, even if, they get accused, and they get accused of greenwashing all the time. If we're not going to have to invest money because people aren't worried about it, or certainly legislators aren't worried about it, then we're not going to put that money up. So I think you're probably right that the momentum for thinking about sustainability and sort of capital S sustainability, right? All of those things that factor into it, I don't think there's a whole lot of momentum right now. I think that's probably a good argument.
But Matagorda County is a great example of where renewable energy has sort of seen new life. You did a whole episode about that.
Yeah, Matagorda County is super interesting because remember in the 70s and 80s they built a nuclear plant, right? And nuclear, talk to whomever you want to sort of about whether or not it's net zero, it's a renewable resource. At the same time, there were a whole lot of protests and what I kept hearing from people in Matagorda County was that it was a lot of folks in Austin who were going to Matagorda County and protesting the building of this nuclear facility because they were worried about it, right? They were worried about the waste, they were worried about the fallout. And Matagorda County, funny enough, sort of figured out a way to transition and get people, because it had been around for a long time and it had been safe and it had created a whole lot of jobs. This is a South Texas project, STP. And they were a good sort of citizen, corporate citizen for the county and for the area. And so I think it's really interesting to think about wind and solar coming into Matagorda County right now. And there is a little bit of reticence, there's a little bit of pushback, but at the same time, if you talk to folks, that same pushback was there when they were talking about building a nuclear plant. Mm-hmm. And so they have that sort of history and understanding of, you know what, given time, and if we ask the right questions, and if we demand the right results, good corporate partners are probably going to emerge. And so I think they just have a little bit more history with that, which is really interesting. You're right.
You mentioned in that episode that Highly Innovative Fuels is a company that's set up there. Can you talk a little bit more about what they do? And are you using them as an example? Will we see more of these energy companies, these renewable or alternative places moving outside of Houston?
Yeah, it's really interesting. I kept asking why a Chilean company would set up shop in Matagorda County. Everybody that I talked to said the Colorado River. Basically, you need access to water and you need cooling agents. These folks, Highly Innovative Fuels, they're basically creating sustainable aviation fuel. That's their sort of main stock. And so I think you are going to see, especially if you have the regulatory environment in Texas, and this is another thing I talk about a lot in the podcast, that we really have set up a really sort of low regulatory infrastructure for businesses to come in. They see that, and then they also see cities and counties and areas who are willing to compete with one another to get those businesses set up where they are. And so then you're talking about tax abatements. Then you're talking about incentives that they've set up to bring big companies even outside of Houston, right? If you're in Matagorda County, if you're Bay City, you want that tax revenue coming in. Even if for 10 years you're giving them a tax abatement, you're sort of thinking about this in 20, 30, 40-year cycles. And so you're willing to do it.
These are very big picture ideas. What does this conversation mean for the average Texan?
Yeah, no, and that was the whole idea behind the podcast, because I was doing all this reporting on the energy industry, and I was talking about energy economics, and I was thinking about this, and I was talking to a whole lot of really smart people, but they were all academics, and they were all folks in industry, and they were sort of telling me that really, really high, 40,000 feet view. And I wanted to go and talk to people who were actually there and what that experience was like. And so when you go to a town like Crest, Texas, in between Amarillo and Lubbock, and you talk to folks about this 6.5 square mile solar farm that was built out there, producing more energy, more gigawatts of energy than residents of Crest, I wanted to know what they were sort of thinking about, what they were experiencing, what they were dealing with. And a lot of folks really didn't they didn't know what was going on. So I felt like it was part of my responsibility as a journalist to kind of tell them what was happening. And so I go out there and I ask these questions, but I also tell folks, hey, this is what's happening in your area. This is what's happening right now. These are the sort of things that I'm learning when I'm out here. And so you're right. I'm asking these questions, but at the same time, I'm trying to articulate to folks here in Texas what this means for their area and what it means at the legislature. The last episode was all about things happening in Austin affecting folks in Crest, but also affecting folks in Houston and affecting folks in DFW. And so really kind of getting out there and asking questions, but also telling folks that what I'm learning is a big part of the mission.
Do you find that they know the reality of the situation, or are they still being swayed by maybe talking points that are being pushed out on a much more populist platform?
Yeah, that's a really interesting question, because it really kind of it varies, but it also depends on how active they are in the community and how active they are in those discussions. You have a lot of folks who do go to, county meetings, or they go to city council meetings, and they'll put together a speech, or they'll just listen. Those folks absolutely know what's going on. Those are the folks that I end up talking to more often than not, because those are the folks who know what's going on, and they're also willing to talk to me. If you just sit and hang out at a coffee shop and you ask folks about their understanding, it's a little bit different. And that's what I'm saying is part of the responsibility I feel is those folks who don't know, who aren't involved, sort of having to explain to them, hey, this is what's happening in your backyard. These are the things that are happening in Austin. These are the things that are happening in Houston that are affecting you. You kind of need to be up on this. And if I can do it in a 20-minute, fun to listen to episode, that's what I'm trying to do.
Yeah. If I'm correct, Texas leads the nation in wind generation. And
correct.
Yet, if you listen to the mainstream media, you hear, that there's a war on that, and that's not where we're going, and that's not the direction. But we do have a thriving industry in that. Is it continuing to grow? Is it an answer for the future, or has all of this other push against it stalled and stopped what could have been a great industry for us?
Yeah, it's really interesting. I had a discussion yesterday with another reporter at the University of Texas, and we were talking about all of basically what can happen is permitting gets paused. And so you have a lot of different levers that legislators can pull. Industry is sort of having to deal with these stops and starts. So they'll go secure a piece of land, they'll get the environmental evaluation done, and then somebody might say, oh, actually, it's going to be 6 months because of whatever. And so we're seeing a lot of that happen. So industry, like I said at the top of this industry, if they're not making a profit, they're not going to be plugging money into that. And so you're right. There are things that the legislature can certainly do to sort of, stall the industry from expanding as quickly as possible. At the same time, Texas, we haven't seen projects just go away. We've seen them sort of pause and stop. And I think you're right. I think the sort of rhetoric, certainly out of Washington, but even here in Austin, about is this actually sustainable? Is it renewable? I think it works to a certain extent, and it also gets sort of in people's ears about whether or not this is actually viable. At the same time, industry's trying to grow as fast as they can, and they are dealing with those hiccups. It's just time and money that they're sort of having to dump into it.
So let me just spin this one last way. Sure. So politically, is the will of the parties, the belief that's coming out of, you said, the administration, is that blocking an industry that's growing here? Or Is there still a path for an elected official to support the growth of this industry without going afoul of the foul? There it is. I got to it, of the administration.
Yeah, it's really interesting because I think, I talked to Drew Darby, who represents San Angelo and sort of West Texas, and part of the Permian Basin is the Permian Basin is part of the people that his constituency. He's really interesting because I think you hear a lot of folks who are sort of all of the above, and he kept saying that. And so I think he doesn't think about, he was sort of like, look, we need oil and gas, but we also need wind and solar. And so I think that there is this sort of middle ground, and there is an opportunity for folks. I think what they're doing and what Representative Darby is doing, and sort of he really is sort of writing the playbook of keep your head down, make sure your constituents aren't sort of worried about having targets on their back about building these infrastructure projects. I think there is a path for that. I think the key is to not make anybody in the governor's office mad, and just sort of keep your head down and tell them that, look, this is generating all of this revenue. This is good for our citizens. And you kind of can't tell me what to do with this infrastructure that we're building.
We're speaking with Andy Uhler, host of the podcast Phases and Stages, the Texas Energy Story. If you want to join the conversation, you can call or text us at 713-440-8870. Andy, I am way more familiar now with green energy and this transition, only because working with Rice Global, we're taking a contingent of Rice-born startups to Viva Technology, which is a large tech conference in Paris next month. And I normally cover the School of Humanities, the School of Music. So green tech startups were not in my beat. But it is reassuring to see some of these technologies that are coming out of Rice, and I'm sure out of many other higher ed institutions. For example, Syzygy Plasmatics produces sustainable aviation fuel. We talked about that with highly innovative fuels. Commercializing NASA-developed liquid gas chemistry technology. That's what Helix Earth is doing. So there are the start, the beginnings, the rumblings of more of this technology coming from higher ed. Will you explore that in season 2?
It's really funny because season 2 is going to be all about innovation. So thank you for queuing that up. No, we're going to be talking to a whole lot of startups. There's a whole lot of really interesting stuff happening in the nuclear space. Geothermal is fascinating. And so, no, that's exactly right. We're going to be talking to a whole lot of folks who are, it's so funny because I tell people all the time, I'm like, I hope I'm worried about people sort of knocking on my door and wanting to be featured in the podcast, if they have a new business. But at the same time, I can sort of, I was thinking about the idea of, we can have a whole episode on geothermal. We can have a whole episode on alternative fuels. Because I think you're exactly right. There is space, and especially young folks who are in college and studying this stuff, they're interested in it and they see sort of a future in that. And so, yeah, I'm all ears for the innovation and all ears for those who are working in that space, because I think there's a lot of, and I don't mean this pejoratively at all, there's a lot of ignorance about what's happening in the energy space, especially green tech. And so anything I can do to sort of give a voice to that, I'm all in.
713-440-8870 if you would like to join the conversation. Chris is on the line from Cyprus. Chris, what's on your mind?
Hi. I was kind of curious to see where a lot of the misinformation is coming from. We're so far behind the 8 ball. I remember in 1978, my homeroom teacher installed some solar panels on his roof to heat his water. And the first wind farm I saw was in 90 in Norway. And I mean, it's just a no-brainer to, tap into the free resources that we have. Sun, wind, come on, let's go.
Good points, Chris. Thank you. Andy, your thoughts?
Yeah, it's really interesting. I think Chris is right. The rhetoric, especially coming out of Washington, and I don't know that there's a whole lot of it's a really interesting argument because, like I was saying earlier, the markets are sort of dictating that this technology and these renewable energy industries, they're thriving sort of despite regulation, despite sort of different hurdles that are being put in front. I think Chris is right. We're hearing, and I tell people this all the time too, a lot of the conversations that I have with folks, how they get their news really sort of matters in terms of their understanding of the technology, but also their understanding of what's happening in terms of the infrastructure that's being built, in terms of, because you can hear, some rhetoric about, subsidies and how the government is actually sort of holding up renewable industries. And that's just not the case for the most part. And so depending on where you get your news, it actually does matter. Chris is exactly right.
This is a great plug, though, for your podcast. It is very educational. We've talked about Matagorda and Austin and Houston, but you really covered all over the state.
I did, and I made it a point. I looked at a map and I was like, I need to be talking to people in the Panhandle. I need to be talking to people. It's funny because I have a bonus episode coming out in a couple of weeks on the Rio Grande Valley. But I even went down to, outside of Corpus. We talked to folks in Alice, Texas, which used to be a big headquarters. Halliburton was based there for a minute. Schlumberger was there. Alice, Texas, I had no idea. And yeah, no, just talking to folks and also telling the stories. The cool part about the pod too is that, I got to dig into the history and sort of how the energy industry manifested in the 20s or the 50s or the 70s and now today. And so it's cool because you can, in Texas, the energy industry has touched everywhere. So you're exactly right. I traveled around, I drove around. I did take one flight to Lubbock because that's a long drive for me. But yeah, no, you're right. It's such a great space for me to be able to tell people sort of what's going on.
We had a comment come in from Chef Rob over in our YouTube chat. And I'm just curious, your thoughts on this. If Texas can require solar panels on all new construction, we'd have no electricity shortages. True or false? What do you think?
I don't know. I don't know if that's true or false. That sounds like it's probably, that sounds reasonable. I don't know. It's so funny because when you talk to people about regulation and when you talk to people about, where things are getting built, what infrastructure projects are coming together, the first thing anybody talks about, doesn't matter what side of the aisle they're on, they're going to tell you about property rights, and they're going to tell you about individuals being able to do whatever they want to do with whatever they're doing if they own the land. And so talking everybody into building solar panels on whatever they're building,
but would it generate from that? Would it generate enough power, or are we misconstruing how much we can get in solar?
I don't know that. I would need to be talking to the experts that I talk to all the time here at the university, and also Rice. I don't know. It seems like if you're putting solar panels on every new piece of construction, that seems like a lot of solar panels, and that seems like a lot of energy. And also you have advancements, and this is one of the things we're going to be talking about next season. Solar is getting more efficient, and solar is getting to where it's generating a whole lot more energy, even just on these individual panels. It seems reasonable. I just don't know if that's I don't know if that's a stretch.
Well, Andy, we will look forward to that answer in season 2.
Oh, thank you so much, Brandi. Yeah, no, exactly. Now I have, episode 1, apparently.
There you go. Andy Uhler is the energy reporter for in residence at the University of Texas at Austin. You can listen to Phases and Stages wherever you listen to podcasts. Andy, thank you for joining us today on Hello Houston.
You got it, y'all. Thanks.
Thank you.
Coming up, our current obsessions. Share them with us now. Email talk@hellohouston.org or call or text 713-440-8870. Stay with us as Hello Houston continues.
It's not just your car. It's the one that brought your kids home from school, took you cross-country, held memories, laughter, even a few breakdowns. When it's time to let go, give your car a new purpose. Donate it and turn memories into meaningful support for this station. Plus, you'll enjoy free and easy pickup, potential tax benefits, and a simple donation process. Your gift supports the programs you and your family love. Donate today and help keep public media strong. Call or donate online.
You can listen to The Splendid Table this Sunday at noon.
About a year ago, the Devil's Hole pupfish faced catastrophe, its population dropping to only 20 individuals. Government scientists had to move quickly to save them, even as they faced a crisis of their own.
Nobody really knew, who was going to have a job from one week to the next.
I'm Elsa Chang. Hear more on All Things Considered from NPR News.
It's on today at 3 o'clock.
On the next Science Friday, when aliens invade in science fiction, they often want to control, colonize, or destroy us.
You know, with these stories, we're looking into the cosmos and we're seeing ourselves, and we are understandably freaking terrified.
Applying an indigenous lens to a first contact thriller. That's on Science Friday from WNYC Studios.
You can hear that tomorrow at 1 p.m.
Support comes from Metro. World Cup planning includes transit improvements intended to serve Houston after the final match. Metro provides bus, rail, and paratransit service and continues mobility enhancements across the region. More at ridemetro.org/Metro Now. Support comes from PhotoFest Biennial 2026, highlighting 4 decades of photographic work by more than 500 artists from over 50 countries. On view at Sawyer Yards through May 10th. Details at fotofest.org.
And now back to Hello Houston. To comment on any of today's topics, call or text 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. And now Ernie Manouse and guest host Brandi Smith.
As we wrap up the show over the next few minutes, we are gathering up your current obsessions. We want to know what is occupying all of your free time. We want to know, what is that TV show you have to run home to continue? Well, I guess you can watch it on your phone nowadays. That song that you keep playing on repeat, the audiobook that makes you drive that extra mile, or in my case, lay in bed listening to it on your phone because you can do it at 1.2 speed. But my Alexa only plays it at 1 speed, so I have to listen on my phone. We want to know. You've got the idea. Give us a call or text us, 713-440-8870, or email us. You can do that too at talk@hellohouston.org. Before we get into all of those, we were talking about $1 billion security upgrade for this ballroom of Donald Trump's at the White House, and we asked our poll question over on YouTube. Do you think $1 billion for security upgrades is justified? One of the options was you need more details. 0% of our voters needed more information on it.
Wow.
But 90% of our voters said no. They do not think $1 billion for the upgrades is justified. Just 10% of our respondents said yes, they thought it was justified.
Pretty decisive.
Pretty decisive there. We're going to go into our current obsessions. Now, remember, every day, though, we have a poll question. If you're in the chat group over at YouTube, you can join in and we will give you the answers. Some of the big things that are trending right now, of course, the Met Gala.
Yes.
2026 Met Gala. People are still talking about it, still looking at the outfits, still either being amazed or disappointed. You, more amazed, more disappointed?
Disappointed that more people didn't take advantage of the theme. I think it was a pretty easy one. Fashion is art. Didn't necessarily mean you had to replicate a piece of art.
Right. People have been talking about it. Did that obsess you? I'll tell you my obsession. I just got done listening to, as I said, book on tape, Eve Plum's new book. She played Jan on the Brady Bunch. It's called Happiness Included, and I just finished it. I mentioned that because we had mentioned we were going to be having her on the show, and we are going to have her on the show. But the problem is I confused the dates of the interview, and on Tuesday when we started the show, I got a text from Eve Plum, and she was like, I'm waiting. And I'm like, I thought it was tomorrow. And I went back and looked at my notes. I was the one who got it wrong, not Eve Plum. And she wrote the sweetest thing back. She was like, don't worry about it. This just makes me feel better about all the mistakes I make every day. I thought, what
you love someone who can be that grounded.
Yeah, and gracious. But anyway,
Absolutely.
So that's what I've been obsessed with. How about you?
The show Shrinking, I already mentioned, but that it's not a current obsession because we finished it. So now I need new options. This is not pop culture so much, but and it sounds really weird. It sounds like I'm being paid for this, but instead I have paid so much of my money to a woman named Liz Fox Roseberry, who makes jewelry, makes earrings out of Austin. She's actually the sister of Daniel Roseberry, the creative director of Schiaparelli. Schiaparelli was a big part of the Met Gala. It makes these incredible like mix and match earrings. I am obsessed. I've been collecting them like infinity stones. It's not a cheap hobby or obsession, but now I've gotten my daughters into it as well. And I just think it's really cool that there's this woman just down the road and she shows you how she makes these with wire. And I love supporting a small business.
I'll tell you what's most inspiring in what you just said is mixed and match. My mom keeps losing her ear. She never got her ears pierced, so they're all clip-ons. So they're either clipped somewhere else or she loses one another. But now I can tell her, oh, that's what designers are doing now. You can mix and match your earrings.
It is the way.
That's
I
what
watch
we're gonna
her
do.
for inspiration. I'm not as cool as her yet, though. So my mixes and matches are very, very tame.
Well, let's go to the phones and see if Jerry from Jersey Village has an obsession for us. Jerry, what's on your mind?
Yeah, there's something that I love, which is the company is called Panini. It's an Italian company, and they produce what, if you saw it, it would look like a magazine. It's kind of the equivalent of baseball cards, except that they're stickers. And they produce it for, every single soccer season, and they produce one for, the movie Frozen and for The Lion King. But the flagship product is what they produce once every 4 years for the World Cup. And I fell in love with Panini in later in my life. In 2010, actually, was my first Panini. And I know it's going to come out in the next couple of weeks, and I really can't wait. So, they've got a page for every single team that's participating. They've got a page for every single stadium. They've got a page for every single city. And so,
Jerry, really quickly, I'm just curious, my other obsession, do they do this for Eurovision and all the artists that compete?
I don't know.
I'm going to look into
know.
it. Jerry, thank you for sharing that with us. And that's kind of a fun current obsession. We've got a whole bunch that have come in either through YouTubes or for text. What do we have there?
Yeah, Alex Garza Photo says his current obsession is the reveal of this year's ACL Music Festival. I would like to say my wallet is marked safe from the ACL lineup this year. My partner and I were having this conversation. It's just not for me anymore. I'm an indie rock alternative girl, and the lineup has changed. But I love to see that there are still people like Alex who are really, really inspired by it, passionate about it.
Alex also said that she saw the Michael Jackson movie, Michael, and she really enjoyed it. Tomorrow she's going to be watching Devil Wears Prada 2. The other night we watched Devil Wears Prada, the original one, just to get ready for.
You got to prepare. I am excited to see that one. That's one I'll go see in the theater.
713-440-8870. Amal from Sugarland is on the line. Amal, what is on your mind?
So we've been watching the PBS masterpiece show, All Creatures Great and Small.
Oh, yeah.
We absolutely adore the show.
Now, I am familiar with the books and the earlier television productions of it. This current production that you've been enjoying, is it true to the books, or do they just take the characters and move on from there?
So we will find out, because once we realized they were based on the book, we just ordered the book series.
Well, great. Thank you very much for sharing that. And I'm happy you're looking at a PBS masterpiece. That's wonderful. What else have we gotten coming in?
Another show, Widow's Bay. That one's recommended by my British computer guy. Matthew Rhys from The Americans plays the mayor in a seaside island town packed with secrets. It's scary, funny, and full of dark humor. Definitely binge worthy. See, this is what gets me though. I need a show to be completely done.
Yes, you
so
don't
that
like
I can
them
binge
to
it.
be,
I do not like the weekly cliffhangers.
That's the problem I'm having with Hacks right now. I love Hacks, but I want to sit down and watch it all at once.
Yep.
And I know I've got to wait for a couple more episodes to drop. Last week? They dropped 2 episodes in 1 week, and I'm like, maybe they're going to do more. And so now, but I'm the person, I love to go to it. When I watched Heated Rivalry, I waited till the whole thing was there, and in like 2 days, I watched the whole thing.
Oh, Chef Rob says he's obsessed with new running trails.
Oh, Chef Rob, tell us, where are these new running trails? Where are you finding them?
We got a text that 21 Pilots has a new album, Breach. And then my friend Heike texted that Running Point on Netflix is his new current obsession.
The Matthew Rhys one, I'm interested in. I just saw him being interviewed the other morning on TV, and I was like, oh, I like him. I'm curious to see this, and I like the idea that it's a bit of a thriller, but also a bit of a comedy, so I'm curious to go and see that.
He plays characters like that very well. He plays complicated characters very well.
I saw the one he did with Claire Danes, where he was the author and had been...
Why can't I think of the title of that right now?
Yeah, and he had been accused of murdering his wife or something. Oh, my God. My problem is I get into them. I binge them really fast, and then they're over, and I don't remember that I've watched them, and they come back up on my feed for some reason. I'm like, oh, I should watch. And I start, and I'm like, wait a minute. I've seen this before.
The only show I can do that with is the Great British Baking Show. I'll watch those.
Okay, the new trails are Terry Hershey Park and Memorial Park trails are the ones Chef Rob is discovering. That brings us, unfortunately, to the end of our show. You can continue to share your current obsessions with us. Just send them to us at talk@hellohouston.org. Brandi, thank you for sitting in with me the last couple days.
Thank you for having me, Ernie. This has been a lot of fun.
Doris Childress will be in with us tomorrow, and we hope you'll all join us. We're going to be taking a look at maternal mental health ahead of Mother's Day this Sunday. This is Hello Houston right here on News 88.7. See you tomorrow.
Thanks for listening to Hello Houston. Join us every Monday through Friday from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. to talk all things Houston. The Hello Houston production team includes Garrett Bowman, William Menjivar, Jen Altai, Todd Holslander, and Jim Kovacic. For the latest in local news, subscribe to the Hello Houston daily newsletter at houstonpublicmedia.org. Hello Houston is a production of Houston Public Media. The opinions expressed by the guests of this program are solely their own and do not represent the views of management, staff, or underwriters of Houston Public Media.
Support comes from Smart Financial Center in Sugar Land, presenting Leslie Odom Jr., The Christmas Tour. Odom, a star of Broadway's Hamilton, performs Saturday, November 28th. Tickets at